Creating the perfect wide rounded bowl is so satisfying, but bringing the clay out into that generous curve can lead to slumping. In this video, I share 5 tips to avoid slumping and reveal a decorative twist you'll love. So let's dive in. I've prepared around 2 1/4 kilos of clay, about 5 pounds. My clay is quite soft, and this might seem counterintuitive, but this is quite a hefty chunk of clay, and I want to be able to move it around easily. If I use harder clay, I'm going to be working against the clay from the start. I'm going to get tired and I'm going to overwork the clay. So this is my first tip. Work with clay that's soft enough to be responsive to you. I'm throwing on a bat, and this is my second tip. So moving a wide shallow bowl made with softish clay is difficult. If you don't have bat pins on your wheel, you can fix a bat with a pad of clay or a damp chamois. Now I push down into the clay and open out. And I compress and smooth the base with a sponge. As I open out, I'm considering the inner shape of the bowl. And now I'm pulling the clay up to form the walls. And as I pull the clay upwards and outwards, I'm leaving a little extra clay in the wall at the base. And this is the next tip. Leave extra clay in the base. The base of your pot must support the upper part of your pot. If this part of the pot is too thin, it won't be able to support the clay above and your pot will collapse. I can trim this clay away later, either as I'm cleaning up my pot or once it's leather hard and I trim. I'm squeezing gently and my hands are moving very slowly. This is important. If I move upwards too quickly, I'll end up with a spiral and my walls will become uneven. Walls that are uneven in thickness are more prone to collapsing and slumping. So this is my 4th tip. Now my walls are the height I'm after. I can give my bowl some more volume and shape. With a rib, with my sponge, with my fingers. So I'm stretching the clay out into that rounded bowl form I'm after. And that's my 5th tip. Shape after you've got the height. Really hard to pull up more clay once you've started to shape your pot. Also take into consideration that the walls will shrink a little as you stretch the clay out to the final width. And of course, I can't resist adding a swirl. I smooth the rim with a chamois. and then set aside to dry to leather hard. My bowl's ready to trim, so I flip it, center and fasten to the wheel. I'm using clay lugs to secure my bowl. I start by removing some of that extra clay around the foot. And as I trim the outer wall, I'm keeping in mind that I want the outer shape to reflect the inner shape of the bowl. And now I trim across the base. I'm just trimming a slight depression into the base. And then I smooth around the foot and the trimmed surface. I remove the lugs and flip my bowl over to take a look. I let my bowl dry and I bisque fire. I glaze a couple of bowls with simple glazes, but with this one I'm going to try something different. I'm going to add some glaze spots, but in reverse, so I'm going to use resist to create various size spots and then glaze. When I've finished, I'll remove the resist and fire. So I'm using a latex for the resist and I'm using some sponges. The sponges get a little crummy with latex bits after use and they're not so easy to clean, so next time I might use brushes. And now I glaze. Simple, right? But I still have to remove the latex before I fire. These wide shallow bowls are super useful and very versatile. So let's recap my 5 tips. Number 1, use soft responsive clay. 2, throw in a bat so you can remove your pot easily. 3, leave extra clay in the base to support your walls. 4, pull the walls up evenly and slowly. And 5, pull the walls up to the required height before shaping. Feel free to add your favourite tips below. And if you want to make pasta bowls that fit really well with these shallow bowls, check out my pasta bowl video. As always, happy potting!